insane for you.
Yo, welcome back to the Underestimated Podcast. Y'all know who it is, man. It's your host, Shem. You're back with another episode. So listen, I'm gonna try to give y'all as much energy as I uh, can generate within myself because it is almost 1:30. I just started recording, obviously, and this is like an hour later than I usually start recording. I usually start recording around 12, so I can have this um, out as soon as possible for y'all, but it's just an hour in between. So, and now it is raining, and so I was already sleepy, and of course the rain is not going to do anything more than make me sleepy, even more sleepy. But I'm gonna try to get out as much energy as I got, and it's gonna be quite a long episode, I believe. So y'all just gonna have to sit here and bear with me. But you know what I'm saying. Without further ado, let's get into what we got going today. So today we're gonna be doing the top 10 NFL Super Bowl 58 contenders. Um, so I got 10 teams here. I'm gonna tell y'all the teams. Hear my reasonings. Now, so I actually have 11 because it was this one team that I forgot to put in my 10, who I felt were very deserving. I couldn't think of a team that was already in my 10 to necessarily take out and put them over. So I just have them at number 11 as an honorable mention, and that is in the AFC from the AFC East, the New York Jets. Now, I know some of y'all may feel that it shouldn't even be honorable mention, but maybe I will give some type of leverage based off of who I have in the top 10. So I surmise correct on the off chance that a group that has the NFL's best player in the secondary, a great arrangement of players front and center, and a future lobby of notoriety quarterbacks, um, and last year's NFL Rookie of the Year on the defensive side, and Offensive Rookie of the Year, it's sort of difficult to leave it off the rundown, regardless of whether we struggle with laying out the psychological picture. As I've composed previously, I think the Jets went through the profound clearing stage, um, the establishment so frantically required. So just like in Unquenchable Establishment just connected Aaron Rodgers, um, I think a perspective, ordinary or regularly serious establishment added Aaron Rodgers, and the off chance that we make that little mental switch, it's more straightforward to see that the Jets possibly enduring an overwhelming meeting. All right, so that was just basically what I had typed out to say about the Jets. But the only thing that I guess was preventing me from solidifying them in the 10 was that we don't really know what they're going to do because of the way the roster's constructed. Like every team that's solidified in my 10 um, has a roster that is composed of players that have been there at least for a season. And, now they've added Aaron Rodgers, Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb, am I missing anyone? Now they were supposed to be in talks with Dalvin Cook, but now that seems to be more of a fantasy more than a reality. Do I think they'll get it done? I would hope so. I would actually not mind seeing Dalvin Cook in the New York Jets uniform. I think that would be kind of exciting to see. And I mean, they also have Brees Hall, but I mean, it's nothing wrong with having a quarterback. I'm sorry, a running back room full of great running backs because if Dalvin just happens to get tired or in the event that he gets injured, you still got somebody Brees Hall who can come in and be productive just like he was last season. So I definitely think with the Jets adding Aaron Rodgers, they are definitely a Super Bowl contender if they are able to gel um, the way they are intended to by most. I definitely think Aaron Rodgers could be in MVP contention this year, but I think because he's mentally on another level and he's happy where he is and just supremely motivated to give his all and what we known Aaron Rodgers to be over the course of his career um, to this New York Jets, his franchise. And he has the team around him to do it. I mean, it's a bunch of young guys, but guys who are young and have been pretty productive in such a short tenure in their careers. So they definitely got A Rod in good hands. But let's get into the actual solidified top 10 list. So at number 10 from the AFC, more specifically the AFC West, I have the Denver Broncos. Now, listen, of course, we know the Denver Broncos, they're not meets any of our expectations for what we thought they were going to do last season with the addition of acquiring Russell Wilson from the Seahawks. And, they went by the, well, Russell Wilson went by the slogan last season, Broncos country, let's ride. And obviously they weren't doing much of that. They could barely even saddle up. But I think they have what it takes to be a winning franchise again. They haven't been in some years, more specifically the Peyton Manning era. Since that kind of ended, they've kind of been in a downhill spiral. But you get a great, Hall of Famer like quarterback in Russell Wilson. You let go of Nathaniel Hackett, and you bring in one of the greatest coaches of all time, Sean Payton. You put, dudes around him like Melvin Gordon and Jerry Jeudy, um, Cortland Sutton. You got guys on defense like Pat Surtain. So I mean, the Broncos I think are gonna do a lot better this year. But see, Denver unobtrusively redesigned the hostile and cautious lines this offseason. Previously, the Broncos inside guard Draymond Jones finished paperwork for a large deal for the Seattle Seahawks, yet he procured a sub 60 PFF grade in every one of the Beyond 2 seasons. To have his spot, Denver transferred ownership of Zach Allen from Arizona for less cash than Jones got from Seattle, and Allen positioned 15th in 2022, while Jones positioned 60th. On the opposite side of the ball, the Broncos marked two of the top accessible free agents in at tackle with Mike McGlinchey and Ben Powers. McGlinchey was a pretty highly positioned free agent, and Ben Powers was as well. Denver also didn't hold a first round pick because of last year's exchange for Russell Wilson with the Seahawks, yet the group capitalized on the circumstance with three strong singles out of day two. And wide receiver Marvin Mims is known for his after the catch capacity. However, his 54.5% challenge get rate proposes he can do everything, notwithstanding his size. Linebacker Drew Sanders is surely fit off the ball, yet he likewise has a remarkable pass rush range of abilities that the Broncos will need to take advantage of. Doubtlessly, the Denver Broncos has an unpleasant streak through the exceptionally series AFC West, and the play of Russell Wilson in 2022 doesn't leave a lot of space for idealism. Notwithstanding, the other pieces are presently to a great extent there for the offense, and a generally solid guard could improve with Allen's appearance. On the off chance that Sean Payton um, can get Wilson playing at a level more suggestive of his Seattle days, the Denver Broncos can definitely be an unexpected season finisher group in 2023. So, yeah, like I said, I think the Broncos have everything set in place from a team personnel standpoint and a staff standpoint to get it done and actually make some noise in the AFC. But we all know that in comparison to comparing the two conferences in the NFC and the AFC, the AFC are obviously the deeper, more competitive conference. So it's not going to be an easy task for them to make noise. But it starts in the regular season, so that's a mixture of both NFC and AFC competition. So we just have to wait and see what happens with them. So now we move forward to number 9 coming out of the AFC as well, more specifically the AFC North and the Baltimore Ravens. Now must be a really dreary situation for me not to remember Baltimore for a rundown of the potential Super Bowl champs, regardless of whether it's presently been over 10 years since the Ravens' last outing to the title game. The connection between the new offensive coordinator Todd Monken and Lamar Jackson could either impel Jackson into delayed first-class status, or the Ravens will, by middle of the season, be scrambling to introduce anything recognizable or cordial ideas extra from the Greg Roman framework can in any case serve them. But since the principal probability that Monken's time at Georgia has him outfitted with a strong stockpile and smart of how to use Jackson both as a rusher and a space-eating spread quarterback, is a genius one, will favor the possibility that an offense with no set of experiences is that a lot harder to get ready for. The greatest story of the offseason was the agreement show between the Ravens and quarterback Lamar Jackson. Yet after all the posing on the two sides, the 2019 MVP eventually got his drawn-out arrangement to remain in Baltimore. The Ravens likewise endeavored to update his weaponry, getting wide beneficiaries like Odell Beckham Jr., also in Nelson Aguilar, and on the opposite side of the ball, out of the frequently harmed cornerback Marcus Peters, supplanted by Rock Ya-Sin and Trayvon Mullen. The two cornerbacks gave up only one score until their inclusion last season. However, both missed various games because of injury. In the wake of utilizing free organization to add veteran experience to getting corps, the Ravens picked youth and hazardness to additional reinforce the unit by means of the draft. Zay Flowers piled up 503 yards after the catch for Boston College last season, an accomplishment made conceivable to a limited extent by his 15 constrained mishandles. The feature of day 3 for Baltimore was its lack pick, hostile watchman Andrew Voorhees, who procured high grades at USC and would have been drafted fundamentally sooner, notwithstanding the upper leg tendon tear he endured during joint drills. Notwithstanding weakening because of injury, this program has the vibe of a contender. The getting courts is effectively the most profound and most capable it has been during Jackson's Ravens profession. And the beginning hostile line ought to likewise be major areas of strength for an A. On the opposite side of the ball, the optional, the secondary has a new few pieces that should fit into the Ravens system quite rapidly. Yet the pass rush ought to get an additional lift from edge safeguard David Ojabo, who was a permanent ability from the 2022 draft. However, he only played 23 snaps last season because of his recuperation from a torn Achilles endured during his pro day exercise. Assuming Kansas City, the Bills, and Cincinnati are to be viewed as the enormous three in the AFC, then at that point, Baltimore is absolutely one of the strong competitors to get through that triplet of teams. So as far as Baltimore, is concerned, a lot of people have questioned Lamar Jackson's playoff winning capability. Do I though? Despite his record in the playoffs, no, I absolutely do not. I understand that the MVP is based off regular season stats, but he won it back in 2019. He's the MVP caliber quarterback. We all know Lamar Jackson is just one of those guys. I mean, only in year 6 now, 6, 7, maybe 5, but already one of the best rushing quarterbacks of all time, along the likes of guys like Cam Newton, Michael Vick, Donovan McNabb, etc. And potentially has the potential to be at the end of his career the greatest rusher of all time at the quarterback spot. And the main thing that we've always been concerned with is the Baltimore Ravens putting pieces around Lamar Jackson for not only for him to be successful as a quarterback, but for them to also be successful as an overall team in totality. You now give him Zay Flowers from Boston College. You now give him Odell Beckham Jr., who just, we all know what OBJ has done over the course of his career, and who just recently won a Super Bowl with the Los Angeles Rams a couple seasons back. And, you have Mark Andrews, who is a top 5 tight end in the league. And if you have a substantial offensive line to withhold Lamar Jackson back there behind center, then you now have potentially finally a roster constructed of personnel that is sufficient enough to get you to where you want to be as a football organization if you're the Ravens. We know for as far as the Baltimore Ravens identity, as long as to be remembered, they've been known for their defense. But they have Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Peters, Patrick Queen. They just picked up Kyle Hamilton in the draft. So they have pieces on defense too to hold up that side of the bargain. So Lamar Jackson does get more chances to score with his newly arranged offense that he has around him now. You obviously have the great coach and John Harbaugh. So the Ravens definitely have what it takes from a personnel and staff standpoint to be able to be in supreme contention in the AFC. But like I said, with the triplet of the Kansas City Chiefs, the Buffalo Bills, and Cincinnati Bengals still being very much relevant at the top of that conference, we'll see, not just on paper, but with actual playing, how well they stack up against that 3-team stature. But I think all things considered, the Ravens will be fine, and we'll finally get to see what what we've been expecting out of the Ravens for the past few seasons. Now let's jump into number 8. I'm gonna get excited about this group because anytime this group comes up, I'm gonna always be excited to talk about them because they who are I personally root for as far as the NFL is concerned, and that is from the NFC, more specifically the NFC West. West, I'm sorry, the Seattle Seahawks, them 12s, baby. The Seahawks spent like a group ready to make a run, um, and an insightful move, taking into account the overall shortcoming of the NFC. They brought back central members from earlier Seahawk groups like Bobby Wagner, one of a handful of the splendid spots on the last year's Rams crew. Um, they likewise scored a critical overhaul in focus Evan Brown, who recorded the sixth best pass block productivity figure at the position when constrained into expanded play for Detroit in 2021. Well, more specifically, Michigan. They additionally spent up for um, D lineman Draymond Jones, who probably made it simpler for them to look past Georgia's Jalen Carter at the highest point of the draft. The Seahawks were the main group with various first round picks heading into the draft to keep up with both unique draft spaces. However, they actually figured out how to lead the draft with top possibilities at two premium positions. Cornerback Devin Witherspoon permitted a fulfillment level of 35% into his inclusion and piled up 20 constrained inadequacies with giving up a score. Days 2 and 3 created various fascinating picks for the Seahawks, two especially in an all-out attack mode line. To watch Anthony Bradford is a noteworthy competitor for such an enormous player, and focus Olasegun Ola Watimi. Hope I said that name correctly. I'm sorry if I didn't, boy. Is the ruling Remington Grant champ as the country's top place and gave up only 3 sacks in 3 years at both Virginia and Michigan. This year is about Geno Smith. The pieces are there on both sides of the ball to make a huge disagreement in a division with two powerless groups and a meeting with just a single clear world class all over program, yet he should play back to the level he showed the primary portion of 2022. Through the initial 8 games last season, he had just 10 turnover commendable plays in spite of a season high 4 against the Hawks. I'm sorry, the Eagles in week 3, and broke the 90-point edge multiple times with a lapse in grades on the off chance that he can play at the nearest play near to that level. Seattle ought to be a critical danger in the end of this season, regular season. So, to take a deeper dive into everything I just covered with my Seattle Seahawks, of course, we didn't know what was to expect when we traded Russell Wilson off to the Denver Broncos for Drew Lock, Jermont Jones, and some pick equity. And I, who, am still currently a Seahawks fan, was definitely debating on whether I should jump ship or stay along for the ride of what Geno Smith had to come. And I'm glad I did, because Geno Smith played at a MVP caliber level last season, and I don't think he's subjected to change that. I think he's only going to get better. He spent multiple years behind Russell Wilson to learn. But he's no stranger to being a starting quarterback. He was a starting quarterback for the New York Jets seasons ago. I didn't think he had the skill set. Got a decent arm, pretty accurate. Got pieces around him like DK Metcalf and the most, in my opinion, underrated player or receiver in the game, and Tyler Lockett. And you now just pick up Jackson Smith. And I just heard his name last night. I'm gonna try to say it right because I want to challenge myself. Uh, Njaba, I think it's that. I think it's that. Njaba. My fault, bro, if I mess your name up, but I'm gonna get it over time. So I'm gonna hear your name a lot over the season. So don't worry, I'm gonna get you right. But I just call him JSN for the the time being. I think we're gonna surprise a lot of people this year. We in the NFC, we can definitely be top of the top this year. With the way the NFC is constructed now, I think we definitely got a chance to make a lot of noise. I think we only won like 9 games last season. I think this year we got the potential to win um, potentially like 11, 12. We do have I heard last night in the preseason game against the Vikings, we had a tough like last 3, 4 games in the schedule. Um, but if I remember correctly, the teams that were said last night, I believe that we could definitely win 2 out of those 4 games, at least. So I think we'll be fine. Obviously, Pete Carroll, one of the greatest coaches of all time. You got DK, Tyler Lockett, JSN, Kenneth Walker, third, Gino. Got a pretty sufficient offensive line. On defense, we brought Bobby back. You bring in Devin Witherspoon. So I think that boy's going to be a dog. Got Tariq Woolen, Quandre Diggs, got Jamal Adams, Jordan Brooks. I mean, we just got a bunch of name brand players all over the on paper to make a lot of noise this season, and I'm very excited as a Seahawks fan to see what we're gonna do this season. Um, so now as we move on to number 7, I have from the NFC, more specifically the NFC West, the San Francisco 49ers. So in the event that Brock Purdy can't play as well as he did a year prior and the 49ers stay generally sound, I don't have the foggiest idea how a group with the best expertise, position bunch, excuse me, quite possibly the best hostile um, line, or offensive line, the best defensive line, and the best linebackers in the NFL will not vigorously factor into the current year's postseason dance. San Francisco, as you might have heard me say, has a degree of profundity inconspicuous by the remainder of the association. This is a group that can weather conditions a lot of whittling down this year, nevertheless be viewed as one of the hardest groups to beat in 2023. The 49ers guard will be a work underway to begin the season as it lost 5 players who broke the main 10 in free agent rankings. But that as it may, they figured out how to land one of the genuine stars of the free agent class in inside safeguard Javon Hargrave. Starting around 2020, Hargrave positioned third among all cautious inside players in both pass rush grade and pass rush win rate. This was somewhat of an inquisitive class featured by the choice to take a kicker in the 3rd round. Seldom does a kicker give the sort of significant worth that requires the 99th general choice. However, with regards to San Francisco here, Jake Kroenke was the unmistakable top choice at the position. He won the Lou Groza Grant in the 2022 as the country's top kicker, covering his heavenly vocation at Michigan by hitting on 23 of 25 field goals and posting a perfect sheet on additional focuses. His 56-yarder in the public elimination round against TCU probably eased worries about his reach. While this draft class was restricted by the reality that the 49ers' most memorable pick was until the number 87th pick, that was the termination. Penn State's safety, Jair Brown, the 135th player on the huge board, who was also the main draftee to rank amongst the best 220 possibilities. San Francisco's position is third in the NFL's power rankings. However, inquiries at quarterback, the offensive line, and safeguard merit critical consideration, and to add in playing two divisional games against a Seahawks group that took huge steps last year and hopes to have made more overhauls this offseason, and the 49ers could really make a lot of noise and be expected somewhat of a relapse. I am so confused. I mean, I'm a Seahawks fan, so I'm actually kind of glad, all things considered, but I just don't understand how the San Francisco 49ers, with the team that they have built in the past 3, 4 seasons, have not been able to get a championship under their belt. The Super Bowl. Like, I don't get it. You have that great of a defense with the among the likes of um, Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, Jimmy Ward, Trent Williams on the offensive line. You got a bunch of great players, and it's been like that for years now. You got a quarterback now in Brock Purdy. I don't know who they're going to start between Brock Purdy and Trey Lance. If I was them, my thing with Brock Purdy is, yeah, he put on a stellar and impressive run last season. Only losing one game. But my thing is the longevity of his production. How long can you play at that level? You see what I'm saying? That was only like 11 games. Um, Although it was a great 11 games, the NFL season consists composed of 17. You got to do it for 17 games, not 11. So we got to see how long, if he can play at that level that he played last season. I would say start him, even though I love Trey Lance's game, and I hope he finds a home somewhere else. I do believe he can definitely be a starting quarterback on the team. And his injury just sucked last year. Um, Basically, the chances of him being a starting quarterback for the Rams, I'm sorry, the 49ers right out. Um, so I think, you got Brock Purdy. You got George Kittle, Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, CMC in the backfield, great offensive line, stellar defense. They probably have the best defense in the league. Um, that's no question. Um, Definitely have a great chance to win the Super Bowl again this year. Will they get it done? I don't know. You have somebody like Patrick Mahomes in the NFL still. It's no guarantee to solidify anybody for a championship when he's around. But he has been beaten before, and I do think the 49ers um, have a chance of beating them as well. It's definitely a very high possibility that is able to happen. You got a great coach as well, also in Kyle Shanahan. Um, I just think the 49ers are just such a great franchise, top to bottom, and personnel and staff, that it's just mind blowing to me how they have been able to sustain at least one Super Bowl championship yet. They've been there once, but haven't been able to cross the threshold. But maybe this year is their year. You never know. But that's why I had them at 7 for a reason. So you know. So at number 6, I have from the AFC, more specifically the AFC West, the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, I really do believe there's an opportunity. Everything becomes a real um, in Los Angeles eventually. All things considered, similar to Alliance Group will examine beneath, I feel like the Chargers' protective weakness are sufficiently articulated to drive me off. I was between the Chargers and Dolphins on this rundown, and I wound up going with LA due to generally to the solidness under focus and how another offense might feature the qualities of the groups getting corpse better than the former one. Miami must rethink itself through self-exploring alone. The Chargers picked not to make any huge sprinkles in free office, or free agency rather, with veteran linebacker Eric Kendricks featuring their class. Kendricks relapsed as far as inclusion grade every one of the beyond two seasons, however, was among the best in the league in the class of 2019 and 2020. With more than 12 million in cap space remaining, Los Angeles could consider remaking their very own portion of free agents who stay unsigned. The Chargers rushed to address their profundity issue at wide beneficiary by taking Quentin Johnston with the 21st pick. His 532 yards after the catch in 2022 was second best among all recipients in the draft class, but they dedicated day two to guard, drafting USC edge rusher Tui Peludo, and Washington State linebacker Dayon Henley. Tua Peludo piled up 60 all-out pressures in 2022, and Henley posted 20 run stops while missing only 3 handles on run plays. The Chargers compensated for an unacceptable free agency class with a strong draft and will require enormous results from various freshmen to proceed. This group will probably forever be in the blend, and with Justin Herbert at quarterback, yet the remainder of the list might be somewhat of a work underway in 2023, especially on edge side of the ball. So the Chargers, man, the Los Angeles Chargers are a team who I think will substantially be there, of course, at the end of this regular season and, make a deep run in the postseason. You got a great quarterback who you just paid and have locked in for years to come in Justin Herbert. A great running back in Austin Eckler, a decent receiving core, highlighted by Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. Got a decent offensive line. On defense, you got Derwin James, Asante Samuel Jr. You just have a lot of great players to get it done. A great coach as well. Justin Herbert is somebody who actually had a conversation with a friend the other day about underrated players in the league. And I was like, it's certain players that are just really, really good, but you personally just can't sit there and watch them play. That is my feelings toward Justin Herbert. I know he's a great quarterback, and I'm not saying, I would never question his greatness or his talent, because obviously he has been the driving force for what the Chargers' success has been over the past 2 or 3 seasons or so. But me personally, unless they were, playing the Seahawks, I could not sit there and watch Justin Herbert play. He just doesn't pose what I would like to see at a quarterback position, but obviously he has a play style that just simply, all things considered, gets it done. I'm not going to sit here and spend too much time on the Chargers because I don't, Chargers aren't really a team that I want to sit there and talk about. Nothing personal. It's just, I know they deserve to be here. I'm not going to take their credibility away from them. But I just personally, I don't have much interest in sitting here and talking about them for a substantial amount of time. So because of that, we are going to move on to number 5. Now we have cracked into the top 5 of the list, man. So at number 5, I have from the NFC, more specifically the NFC West, them Dallas Cowboys, man. America's favorite team, whatever y'all they be saying about the Cowboys. NFC groups have it more straightforward, which is the principal reason we tracked down Dallas on this rundown. I loathe the Cowboys' offseason. I, as a matter of fact, shuddered at their decision to supplant Kellen Moore as a hostile facilitator, long-term NFL organizer, Brian Schottenheimer. They, as of the composition of this rundown, are getting down to business with Zach Martin, who might be the best individual entertainer on their list. Everything that expressed, they have the quarterback, they have the cautious strength, they have a prevailing pass rush, and a forceful, integral secondary. I actually view them as a truly agreeable season finisher, a commendable group that misses the mark on mental fortitude to endure a jam-packed season finisher field. In any case, every year a group can totally shed its past and character. The Dallas Cowboys went 12-5 again in the 2022-2023 season, progressing to the divisional round of the NFL um, postseason. Interestingly, starting around 2018. While that surely isn't their ultimate objective, it was a positive development. Nonetheless, the 2023 offseason would be basic for the Cowboys as they attempt to figure out how to move beyond the San Francisco 49ers and Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC. The the Cowboys have proactively rolled out of a few improvements this offseason, including moving from Kellen Moore to Brian Schottenheimer as a hostile organizer. While that seems, by all accounts, to be an unmistakable downside on paper, lead trainer Mike McCarthy will be the group's play guest. Fortunately, Dallas has the option to hold cautious facilitators like Dan Quinn, who is broadly seen as one of the top organizers in the association. So, what lies ahead of the Cowboys this offseason, and what moves must they make to get to the NFC title game? Oh, them Cowboys, man. The most stressful team to talk about in the NFL. Um, we all know the talent that they have. We all know that they're able to um, progress and showcase great winning ability. Um, they just have not been able to get it done in the postseason. You got Dak Prescott. Obviously, they're not going to bring Zeke back, but you have Tony Pollard, so you're not too far off. You still have a good running back there. You got guys like Zach Martin on the offensive line. Um, a great receiving core with um, CeeDee Lamb. You got Dalton Schultz at tight end. Also have Michael Gallup. Just got a great roster all around. On defense, you got Trayvon Diggs. Um, but I mean, we know that they have a greatly constructed roster, a great coaching staff. Like I said, personnel and staff to get it done. So it's no disguise what they can do. It's all about what they can do in the postseason. They haven't been able to reach the NFC title game yet. We're still waiting on that Super Bowl from the Cowboys that we haven't seen in so long. But who these Cowboy fans expect, nonetheless, from their franchise, because we know they win one game and the Cowboy fans immediately think Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl. So, but it's no secret that they have the roster to get that done. So we'll see what the Cowboys have in store for us this season. Now let's take an even deeper dive into the list from the AFC at the number 4 spot, more specifically the AFC North, these Cincinnati Bengals. While the AFC North will be endlessly harder to manage this approaching year, the Bengals are the class of the division. Their weakness, running back, and a valid contrast making tight end are finicky. Best case scenario, particularly when you have the best wide receiver core in the NFL and a quarterback who can broaden plays just by excellence of his pocket development abilities. I composed this about Joe Burrow before last season and trust it to be valid now also. Consistently, he is sound. The Bengals ought to be viewed as a Super Bowl competitor, which is a politeness that gets stretched out just to any semblance of Patrick Mahomes and before him Tom Brady. The Bengals aren't, for the most part, known for spending enormous in free agency. Nonetheless, they did so this year by marking hostile tackle Orlando Brown and a marking reward of $31 million and will convey a typically yearly compensation of $16 million. The auxiliary was likewise fundamentally upgraded. Jesse Bates III, Von Bell, and Eli Apple withdrew, and Scott and quarterback Sidney Jones have been endorsed in their stead. Cincinnati tended to a few basic guarded needs on the initial 2 days of the draft and left day three with various interesting, hostile expertise players. Clemson's Miles Murphy showed glimmers of splendor as an edge rusher. However, he should further develop his hand use and center strength against the run. He recorded 7 sacks and 7 quarterback hits in 2022. However, his run protection grade relapsed to about a 73%. Um, Wide receiver Charlie Jones could form into one of the takes of day three. He moved to Purdue from Iowa in 2022 and partook in a breakout crusade from the Boilermakers, putting up 110 catches with only 3 drops. And he got at least 9 passes in 8 games. He saved his best for last, posting a vocation high 13 gets for 162 yards against Michigan in the huge Big Ten game, title game, including a 32-yarder against Bengals second-round cornerback DJ Turner. However, Long Joe Tunnel and his world-class weapons are on the program the Bengals will be enduring competitors. The secondary will be the greatest inquiry heading into the season as it lost its star in free agency and will require various new faces to make critical commitments. Adding the adding of Murphy to the pass rush was, and very well may be, that as it may could make major areas of strength for an of every 2022 far superior going ahead and take into consideration a more consistent progress for the new pieces toward the back. Cincinnati made the Super Bowl quite a while back, got back to the AFC title game last season, and may have the total program expected to win everything in 2023. Cincinnati. Who they? Joe Shiesty, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Hayden Hurst, Trey Hendrickson, DJ Reader, Jesse Bates. Just a great roster, man. Joe Burrow is one of my favorite quarterbacks in the league. He's definitely top five, not just overall, but in my favorite, not only players in the NFL, but quarterbacks. And it sucks that my boy is now suffered an injury that'll keep him out a couple of weeks. And a great teammate in Jamar Chase is definitely wanting his quarterback to be healthy. Pretty much just saying that just be back for us by week 5 or so, and we'll handle the rest on the back end. But as far as the Bengals are concerned, man, Joe Burrow, what he's been able to do, and it's not no surprise because that's kind of what we expected him to come in and do, with the high hopes and expectations that we had from him coming into when he was drafted, has been nothing short of great since he was stepped into the NFL field as a starting quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals. You know, it's made a Super Bowl, multiple AFC championship games, and was literally like 1 or 2 plays away from winning a Super Bowl in like his first year as a starting quarterback. So it's no secret that, all things considered, if he is healthy and the team in overall totality is healthy as a collective unit, they can be a force to be reckoned with in the AFC. Obviously has been one of the few teams that actually been able to say that they have kind of the Kansas City Chiefs' number, which is kind of cliche to say, but I mean, hey, if you look at the records, how they stack up against each other, it's not a subliminally argumentative debate, but I just think the Bengals have a great chance to win the Super Bowl this year. That's why they are coming in at my number 4 slot. To Joe Burrow get well soon. but just a great personnel top to bottom on both sides of the ball, and great coaching, you know, staff as well to put the pieces together to get it done and bring us a championship to Cincinnati one day. Now let's get into number three from the AFC, more specifically the AFC East, the Buffalo Bills. I view the Bills practically like a group that has lost in the Super Bowl, despite the fact that they didn't make it a year ago. The profound load of last season in entirety must dismay, most definitely. From the heaviness of their assumptions the second the season began to the stunning second wherein they stood up to losing colleague to an on-field occurrence, it feel like I feel like that complete weariness is similar to a club that arrived at the greatest round of the year and missed the mark. All things considered, I think the offense will proceed to exhibit its flexibility and could make a major stride this year as far as how we see the activity around Josh Allen. Their running matchup, as far as one might be concerned, which has never been essentially as inadequate as individuals describe it, could eventually turn out into being a main consideration in 2023. So the Buffalo Bills, man, um, this has been a team that's always just been there. You know, you expect to see them there around the AFC conference divisional or title game, but their kryptonite has been the Kansas City Chiefs. They have not been able to get past those Chiefs, man. Um, Even with Josh Allen putting on stellar once in a lifetime performances against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, they still have not been able to cross that threshold and make it to the Super Bowl. Um, but they have the roster. You got Josh Allen, you got Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, Dawson Knox, James Cook at running back. You got a defense that is composed of guys like Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, Tre'Davious White, Von Miller. I mean, you have the pieces back there to um, be effective on both sides of the ball. And I mean, you know, all things considered, they say defense wins championships, and they definitely have a really constructed defense. A great coach in Sean McDermott, and it's a great coaching staff in totality. Um, Good to see that Damar Hamlin is back fully healthy 100% and making big plays in training camp. I just recently saw him get a pick in a training camp scrimmage game, so he's gonna hopefully be able to make an impact for them as well at the safety spot this year. Um, but yeah, I don't think we have to spend much time on what the Buffalo Bills bring to the table. I mean, it's just no secret. Um, Only thing I would say is get my boy Stephon Diggs more touches before he gets up out of there. But other than that, man, it's just nothing else to be concerned with as far as the Bills go. We're gonna see them there, pretty deep in the playoffs next season or with this season, um, and it won't be a surprise to anyone. So if y'all have seen or heard any of my previous lists, y'all should know how the next two spots for this list are going to be filled out. Um, so as we know, last year in Super Bowl 57, it was a game composed of the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs, which is why I have at number two, coming from the NFC, more specifically the NFC East, the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are a confounded projection. So seldom does the washout of a Super Bowl return to the major event. I would envision that this particularly obvious while the training staff is cleansed, losing both of its facilitators. Philadelphia made an unbelievable showing of retooling with additionally leaving space for its most vital veteran players. It is the group's confidence in any semblance of Jason Kelsey, um, Lane Johnson, Brandon Graham, and Fletcher Cox that upholds my conviction that Jalen Carter, N'Kobe Dean, Jordan Davis, and Nolan Smith can prevail at the NFL level and cause the hole between Philadelphia's greatest years to appear to be more limited. The veteran piece of Philadelphia's offseason was tied in with a holding ability and limiting the misfortunes following their Super Bowl appearance, subsequent to seeming as though they planned to lose one, and afterward, the others, the likes of James Bradbury and Darius Slay, they somehow, some way or another held both, as well as Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham along the defensive line. There were misfortunes, however, overall, they are at recognizing the Eagles as currently future sealed a season prior. In the draft of the Eagles did something amazing and rose up to the primary round with both Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith, world class guard linemen on Georgia's imposing safeguard. Their next three picks, um, defensive lineman, offensive lineman, Tyler Steen, well being Sidney Brown, and cornerback um, Khalid Ringo could all contribute early and future confirmation positions for 2024, and then some, to say the least. The Eagles had another extraordinary offseason. So with the Eagles, man, I definitely thought they were a lot to win um the Super Bowl last season. But when you're going up against Patrick Mahomes, that is never a guarantee, regardless of what kind of roster you got considered on the other side. So I think they have what it takes to be back there this season. I mean, they just have, you know, I think if you look at it from top to bottom, a top three, um, well constructed team, in totality. Got Jalen Hurts, no longer Miles Sanders, now DeAndre Swift, um, Devontae Smith, AJ Brown. No more Jalen Rager, so I guess we have to throw in Quez Watkins, Dallas Goddard. Um, on the defensive side of the ball, you got Darius Slay, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, Hassan Reddick, um, Fletcher Cox, James Bradbury, etc. I mean, the list just goes on. Ain't gonna get into all them Georgia boys because we know that they got a good bunch over there on that side. But yeah, I definitely think that all things considered, they need to go ahead and hit the ground running. I mean, it's some free agent running backs out there that they can still go out there and get. Not saying that DeAndre Swift is not capable. I actually like DeAndre Swift. I think he can definitely be a top running back in this league after a while. But when you have guys out there like along the likes of the Dalvin Cooks of the world and Ezekiel Elliott's of the world, DeAndre Swift ain't there yet. You know what I'm saying? And I think as of right now, those two would easily, no question, be a better fit for them. Even though with the team that they have constructed now, it's not that they need anything, but I mean, who doesn't want to be as best as possible? You know what I'm saying? Like you can never be too good. There's nothing wrong with trying to be better because you can never not get better. You know what I'm saying? You're never gonna be perfect. Um, so yeah, I just think that they're more than likely gonna be back there this season. I hope not. I hope that my Seahawks will be the NFC team representing the NFC side in the Super Bowl 58 this season. But you never know. Even though we're on the easier side of things, it's definitely not definitely isn't promised. So that now brings us to number one. Uh, it's just no secret who it is from the AFC, more specifically the AFC West, the Kansas City Chiefs. I feel like there isn't a excessive amount to say regarding the reigning champs. Y'all know I'm all for my list. You are, when it comes to the championships, you are number one in my book until further notice. And being that they were the reigning champs, they automatically get the number one spot on my list. As we saw with the greatest long stretches of Brady and New England, sure, it's hard to rehash in any case with the norm of greatness is set by quite possibly one of the best mentors and quarterbacks ever. Crashing and burning is likewise more earnestly. The Chiefs are getting more youthful on the edges protectively and keeping in mind that they might battle to finish off certain games early. They additionally have Patrick Mahomes that makes a difference. The Chiefs' greatest move in the offseason was to allow Orlando Brown to sign with the Eagles and pick up Jawan Taylor. Taylor has become one of the association's best pass defenders on the right side, positioning him top 15 in pass impeding grade and pressure rate permitted among handles on obvious pass sets of 2022. Charles Omenihu, hope you said it correctly. I'm sorry if I didn't. Was our top of the line edge rusher in the current year's free or agent class. Yet he should pay all due respects to misdeed abusive behavior at home charges from January and could ultimately confront association discipline. With the misfortunes of Juju Smith Schuster and McCole Hardman in the offseason, the Chiefs expected to shift focus over to the draft to revamp their receiving core. In Rashee Rice, Kansas City might have tracked down a pearl. Rice shows the speed and dexterity to get partition at the NFL level, and furthermore showed his seriousness by counting 16 challenged targets and driving 19 missed handles after the catch in 2022. First round edge safeguard Felix Anadike Uzamba will collect the majority of the titles, yet he isn't the main fascinating pass surging possibility the Chiefs have. B.J. Thompson should add huge mass to the extensive casing, yet showed an amazing pass surging rush grade and his range of abilities at Stephen F. Austin. He enlisted 31 all-out pressures and created a 93 pass rush grade, the second best grade in the whole draft class. However, long Mahomes is in charge. Kansas City Super Bowl window is relatively quite often to be open, and the Chiefs worked effectively of keeping up with the ability in all-out attack mode line. They likewise left away with major areas of strength for a class that ought to further develop the offense's playmaking skill and the guard's capacity to rush the passer over the long haul. Kansas City ought to again be considered among the top choices to win the Super Bowl. So, the Chiefs, man, y'all know I ain't got to spend much time here. Patrick Mahomes is that simple. Travis Kelce is that simple. I'm just convinced you can throw a bunch of high schools with these guys, and they're just gonna take them to the Super Bowl because Patrick Mahomes is just that great and that talented. But their roster just naturally on paper does pose some concerns. Because what do they have at their wide receiver spot now? Only thing I can think of is Sky Moore. Other than that, I can't think of anyone else. Even though Sky Moore did put on quite a repertoire of impressive games last season, I'm all about how long can you do it. Yeah, you might have the capability. How long can you do it? So hopefully he's able to carry that over to this season. At a running back spot, and then you got a rising star in Isaiah Pacheco. But like I said, when you have guys like Dalvin Cook and Ezekiel Elliott still out there, make a move and get you a better running back there. Because I think it would be better, all things considered, and as perfectly constructed to have Isaiah Pacheco as a permanent backup running back as opposed to him being the starter. But he's definitely very much capable with his talent and skill set that he brings to the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, that is the list, man. there is a team that I missed that I was going through the list and I realized that I missed. I'm just gonna mention them here. Miami Dolphins. I forgot to put them in here as honorable mention as well. That's my bad. But we all know with them being healthy, they are supposed to be working with with Tua, Tyreek. Now adding Jalen Ramsey, who's also hurt. Um, you got Xavier Howard, Byron Jones, um, Julian Phillips, Christian Wilkins, etc. Just a plethora of great guys on their roster. Jalen Waddle, Mike Gesicki. So now newly added Raheem Mostert. So they got a team to do it. It's all on Tua staying healthy and hopefully them getting Jalen Ramsey back soon. But that is going to cap off this episode, man. I am sorry for the delay. I've been a little bit under the weather the past couple of days, so now luckily I am feeling 100% again, and it just happens to be on a Friday where I am able to put out a video for y'all. So I greatly appreciate all the support, man. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe if you're listening on the YouTube side of things, and to give the channel a 5-star rating and a follow if you are listening on the Spotify side of things. All love, man. Don't forget to not underestimate, appreciate. I will see you guys on Monday. I'm out. Have a great weekend, y'all.